Call the meeting to order. This evening's invocation will be given by our city clerk. Sorry? Oh, sorry, we have to roll call first. Okay. Okay. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the annual notice of regularly scheduled meetings of the Municipal Council for the year 2022, which was published as a legal advertisement in the Herald News and Record on December 11, 2021. Further notice of this meeting was given on Friday prior to the meeting by posting said notice on the bulletin board at City Hall and on the City of Clifton's website, which notice stated that formal action may or may not be taken on the matters to come before the Municipal Council. Roll call.
Councilman Igler?
Present.
Councilman Gibson?
Here.
Councilman Grabowski?
Here.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Here.
Councilwoman Pino?
Here.
Councilwoman Sedgwick?
Here.
Mayor Anzaldi? Absent.
Okay, please rise. Today's invocation will be given by our city clerk, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Also, give us guidance to satisfy the needs of the people of the city of Clifton. We ask this in the name of our Lord. Amen.
I'd like to have a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Lauren Murphy was going to give a special presentation today on the National Disabilities Employment Awareness Month. Councilwoman?
Okay, will the people that are on our committee please stand up that are here? Angela, you can come up and I'll come down there and present this to you after I read it. I have to sit down because I can't see.
Okay.
That's good. Whereas October 2022 marks the 77th anniversary of National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and whereas the purpose of National Disability Employment Awareness Month is to educate about disability employment issues and celebrate the many and varied contributions of America's workers with disabilities. And whereas the history of the National Disability Employment Awareness Month traces back to 1945, when Congress enacted a law declaring the first week in October each year National Employ the Physically Handicapped Week. And whereas in 1962, the word physically was removed to acknowledge the employment needs of contributions of individuals with all types of disabilities. And whereas in 1988, Congress expanded the week to a month and changed the name to National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And whereas workplaces welcoming of the talents of all people, including people with disabilities, are a critical part of our efforts to build an inclusive community and strong economy. And whereas activities during this month will reinforce the value and talent people with disabilities add to our workplaces and communities, and affirm the City of Clifton's commitment to an inclusive community that increases access and opportunities to all, including individuals with disabilities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Clifton recognizes and commemorates the 77th anniversary of the National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and be it further resolved that the City of Clifton calls upon employers, schools, and other community organizations in the City of Clifton to observe October with appropriate programs and activities, and to advance its important message that people with disabilities add value and talent to our workplace and communities. And be it further resolved that the City of Clifton pledges to continue to take steps throughout the year to recruit, hire, retain, and advance individuals with disabilities and work to pursue the goals of opportunity, full participation, economic self-sufficiency, and independent living for people with disabilities. Thank you. And the members of our, no, I'll come down, because we're going to take a picture. The members of our committee, which is a very active committee, are here, are Angela Montague, who's the chairperson, Colleen, Saul, and Tony. So could you come up and we'll take a picture?
We have a nice round of applause for the committee. They do a wonderful job. Thank you. Okay, can we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no objections, so ordered. Petitions and communications.
Various communications submitted by the city manager. Meeting minutes of the Board of Recreation of August 22nd, Clifton Planning Board of August 25th, Board of Adjustment of September 21st, Cable TV Committee of July 27th, Senior Advisory Meeting of September 21st. And this concludes communications.
Okay, so we'll go to ordinances. We have no second reading ordinances, so first reading ordinance.
First reading ordinance is 776922, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 99 of the Code of the City of Clifton, entitled Salaries and Compensation, more particularly Article 6 thereof, entitled Confidential Officials and Employees, and more particularly Section 99-34 thereof, entitled Minimum Maximum Salaries Fixed, amend salary of Chief Municipal Prosecutor.
Move it on first.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Eagler? Yes. Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sedricula?
No.
Motion carried. 7770, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 439 of the Code of the City of Clifton, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, more particularly Section 439-38 thereof, entitled Handicapped Parking on Streets for Private Residences, amends handicap parking placard number.
Move it on first.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Eagler? Yes. Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sedricula? Yes. Mayor Anzaldi's absent, motion carried. 7771, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 439 of the Code of the City of Clifton, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, more particularly Section 439-37 thereof, entitled Handicap Parking on Streets, deletes one restricted handicap space.
First, move it on first.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Eagler? Yes. Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sedricula?
Yes.
Motion carried. 7772, an ordinance amending ordinance number 4733-82, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing a Lease of Municipally Owned Property to the Nava Center Parents Association, passed on August 17, 1982, and amending ordinance number 4763-82, passed on December 7, 1982, substituting the Clifton Adult Opportunity Center as the lessee.
Move it on first.
Second.
Roll call. Roll call.
Councilman Eagler? Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sedricula?
No.
Motion carried. 7773, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 203 of the Code of the City of Clifton, entitled Dogs and Other Animals, to add Section 203-27, Restrictions on the Sale of Animals. Add section which prohibits a pet shop from selling dogs and/or cats and also adds a definition for animal rescue organization and animal rescue organization facility.
Move it on first.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Eagler? Yes. Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Pino?
Yes.
Councilman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Motion carried. 7774, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 439 of the Code of the City of Clifton, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, more particularly Section 439-38 thereof, entitled Handicap Parking on Streets for Private Residences, deletes 2 restricted handicap spaces.
Move it on first.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Eagler? Yes. Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilman Murphy? Councilman Pino?
Yes.
Councilman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi, absent, motion carried. 7775, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 439 of the Code of the City of Clifton, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, more particularly Section 439-38 thereof, entitled Handicap Parking on Streets for Private Residences, adds 14 restricted handicap spaces.
Move it on first.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Eagler? Yes. Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Pino?
Yes.
Councilman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi, absent, motion carried. This concludes ordinances.
Mr. Valano, do you have anything?
I do, Councilman.
Okay.
I just want to provide you with an update on the Dwaz Line Road sidewalks. If you recall, you instructed me to meet with the residents. I met twice, Friday, the 23rd of September. We met in the office to go over the preliminary plans. At that meeting, we discussed that it would be best to meet on site so we could actually physically see what we're changing, how things are moving out on Dwaz Line. So on Friday, the 30th, 2 o'clock, we met. So there are 4 residents that are affected in the city of Clifton, and there's 4 residents that are affected in the city of Passaic. Incidentally, I was asked to invite the mayor of Passaic, which I did send him an invite for the 30th, but no one from his office showed up. So basically what we did is we went over house by house how the sidewalks and the curbs, well, on the west side of the street there are no sidewalks, but primarily how the curb is going to move to allow for the construction of the sidewalks. And then in essence, we're taking property from the right-of-way, from what the city owns on the Passaic side of the road to make that shift. And so in essence, everything is going to be moving to the east, on the east side of the road. At this point, I made notes and I've sent them to Neglia, which they're going to revise the plans. They're going to update everything, plan specifications, and they're going to provide a final plan. A final plan means we can go out for bids. You've already authorized us to do that. What I'd like to do is when I get the plans back, the revised plans, I will check to make sure that all the everything that was discussed is incorporated into those plans. I'm going to provide each resident a copy of the plan so they know exactly what's being done in front of their house. And then at that point, we can move forward and advertise for bids. And it typically takes about 2 to 3 weeks once we put the bid notice out to actually get the bids back. Another couple of weeks to award by council. So you're looking at about a month to 5 week time frame from when the bids are put on the street to the actually we get bids and an award is made. So we're hopeful that by the beginning of November, middle of November, hopefully before the cold season comes, we can get this on the books and get it done. Do you have any questions for me? Okay, that's all I
I don't
have.
think that counts. Okay, thank you, Mr. Valano. Okay, so we're going to open up to the members of the public. I ask that you step up to the podium. You'll be allowed 5 minutes. Please state your name and address, and try to keep it civil. We're here to discuss city situations. I prefer not to get personal or no attack anyone up here. So please step up, state your name. You have 5 minutes, and I ask you to respect the 5-minute rule. Thank you. There's a button there, a little
Where?
Right there, you got it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Gail Yamner, 330 Dwaz Line Road. Good evening. It's nice to see everybody on this rainy night, and it's nice to be back in person. After having 2 meetings with the city manager and the city engineer and seeing the proposed plans, I was compelled to come. Now, I know you've voted, but I think when you look at these plans, you might have a change of heart. Tonight, I have 3 points I'd like to address, and I'd ask that in your comments, you answer them. 1, as a Clifton taxpayer, I object to our taxpayers being spent in another municipality and being spent where the need does not justify the expense. I refer to the council's directive to put 4 more sidewalks on the west side of Dwaz Line, even though there's sidewalks on the east. This will necessitate changing the configuration of the road, and I believe, having looked at it, create a very unsafe situation. When you do this, the sidewalks become more unsafe because now, first of all, the sidewalks aren't going to be in a straight line. There's a diagonal, and you're going to take the grass buffer, and it's no longer there. So if a car were to jump a curb, there's no protection for any pedestrian who's on the sidewalk. In doing these sidewalks on the east side, you have to move 2 telephone poles. Where would they be moved? Probably to the middle of the sidewalk or to the edge. Some of my neighbors on the Passaic side are having massive disruption of their property, or what they consider to be their lawn. And on my side, the Hillbrook property will have 100-year-old shrubs that will be uprooted. I believe the council budgeted about $100,000, which upset me because I'd like to see more pay for the police, for the firemen, and maybe to do something about our fire station. But now we hear that it could be even more than that, and that's before they've identified all of the sprinklers that need to be moved, the trees that will be damaged and will have to be removed and replaced by the city. Our citizens are struggling to pay bills, and I believe this is a waste of our hard-earned dollars. Please address this concern. And I'd like to add that Councilman Gibson had asked if this was part of the court agreement. It is not. That part of the project has already been fulfilled. 2, if indeed safety is your issue, why are you stopping at Lennox? There's a sidewalk only on one side of the street and no sidewalks for the rest of the way down Allwood Road. Surely Dwaz Line is not just dangerous in front of 4 houses that already have one sidewalk on the opposite side. And finally, the last 2 times I was here, I spoke about my safety concerns on Allwood Place. This is a major cut through. There's a park. Children play in the park, dozens of children at a time. Cars parked 2 on either side of the street. There are very few sidewalks, none on one side, and very few on the other. People have to walk in the road. The other day, as I was going up Dwaz Line, a car was coming down. This is on Allwood Place. There wasn't room for both of us. The car had to back up. Now, what does this say? There are no sidewalks. I don't understand how new construction doesn't have sidewalks. I understand that one of the people who called here and complained about his children being unsafe to walk on Dwaz Line lives on Allwood Place. He just built a house. There are no sidewalks. I am concerned for the safety of myself, my grandchildren, the city residents who have to walk in the road. I believe there should be sidewalks there, and I'd like you to address that. And I want to thank you for listening, and thank you. Do you want me to sign this?
Please.
glass cases make them.
Hi, Bill Goldberg from 350 Dwaz Line Road. Good evening, council members and fellow citizens. Each of the last 3 times that I stood here to address the sidewalk issue, I began by saying, I can't believe I'm here again. Well, here I am again, to speak about the unwanted sidewalks on Dwaz Line Road. That's the road where I and a vast majority of the residents who have always opposed sidewalks plan to live. At the very first mention of building sidewalks, Mayor Anzaldi said that the residents of the west side of the block should decide what goes on their street. But we were never given that option. The City Council conducted 2 successful polls of all the residents on Dwaz Line Road, and both polls concluded that the residents did not want sidewalks by 20 out of 24 votes. And 2 of the minority votes were for someone who owns 2 addresses. The City Council also offered to all residents of Dwaz Line Road the free installation of sidewalks. Not one resident asked the city for free sidewalks. The affected residents had a meeting last Friday, the city manager Villano on Dwaz Line Road, to show us the extent of the planned sidewalks. The couple of pro-sidewalk residents that there are did not show up. At that on the street meeting, it was discovered that the Hildreth-Clifton property line juts out several feet into Dwaz Line Road. The Hildreth property sticks out more than enough to make installation of a continuous straight sidewalk an impossible task. In opposition to the mayor's first statement on sidewalks, the city installed continuous sidewalks on the east side of the street and continued the installation across the borderline into Passaic. That's right. The city of Clifton did provide free road and sidewalk construction for the city of Passaic at the expense of Clifton taxpayers. Now we find out that the 2-year-old installation of sidewalks and roadway project was done the wrong way. So the city is now proposing to demolish the new sidewalks, retaining wall, and roadbed. And the city now is intending to rebuild all of the construction, including in Passaic, all over again, even more of the taxpayers' money. Let me repeat again, the city of Clifton is now intending to spend hundreds of thousands of more tax dollars to benefit the city of Passaic's road budget. That's outrageous. By the way, all the construction most affects the Kaiser family on Dwaz Line Road, which is also located, their side is in Passaic. They are exemplary neighbors. They tend their beautiful small front garden religiously, as well as hanging decorations for each holiday. The front yard of the Passaic home can't be more than 30 feet deep to the house. And that's after the city already demolished about 3 feet of the Kaiser's garden. Now they want to go another 5 feet, plus a 12-inch retaining wall, after they've demolished the one that's already there. That removal will remove most of what's left of the Kaiser's garden. I understand that this new idea of demolishing and rebuilding was prompted by a resident from another street that doesn't have sidewalks, who was worried about the safety of their children crossing Dwaz Line Road on the newly installed crosswalks with pedestrian warning signs. I can only say that it's good advice for any parent. If it's unsafe to leave a child at home, don't let them walk around outside on the streets alone. Parenting includes helping children cross the street. There are school buses and carpools that will take children anywhere they want to go. As was originally stated from the beginning, there is no conceivable reason why the city of Clifton would spend taxpayer money a second time to supplement the city of Passake's road budget. In the end, one has to wonder why the city of Clifton has gone out of its way, time and time again, to single out certain residents on Bois Road by imposing unwanted and unneeded projects.
Okay, excuse me, the time is up. Thank you.
I have one more paragraph.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to be fair with everyone.
Morris Yamner, 330 Dwasline Road. I've lived in my house for more than 45 years, and while Mr. Goldberg said he was here, he remembers 3 times, I must have been here more than a dozen times on Dwasline Road. I can't believe that I'm now objecting here, tearing down the roads, the curbs and walls that I objected to your putting up. I didn't want to see them go up. Now I don't want to see them go down. I want you to leave well enough alone. Dwasline Road, this council has had an obsession, not this council, but also your predecessors. Dwasline Road has gotten more attention probably than any other street in the city, and it's enough already. There is a sidewalk, continuous straight sidewalk, albeit with telephone poles in the middle of it, from Dwasline, right across the street from our house on Dwasline Road. Now you want to rip up the curbs that were put in, you want to rip up the retaining wall that was put in, and do it all over again. This council is elected to represent all Clifton citizens, whether they're in Ridgefield, Athenia, Botany Village, Allwood. You represent everybody. You are just taking $200,000, more than $200,000. Mr. Villano and the engineer were very gracious in explaining to us what's going to happen if this project goes through. He was very candid, very honest, showed us everything, and when we asked how much will it cost, he said, I'm not really sure, but over $200,000. Do you want to be remembered as the council who spent $200,000 to put sidewalks in front of 4 houses when you barely came up with enough money to pay the police? The firemen are asking for more money. The firehouse isn't built. You have other streets all over Clifton. Forget Allwood Place. All over Clifton, you've got streets that need sidewalks more than these 4 houses. If you let this go through, you're going to be remembered as the council who spent $200,000 to put sidewalks in front of 4 houses. I trust that you will reconsider a much better way to spend our money. I ask you, if your neighbor built a wall next to you and you didn't like it, would you ask the neighbor to rip it down? Spend our taxpayer money the way you'll spend your own money, and you will reconsider this sidewalk. Thank you.
Good evening, people. Good evening. My name is Steve Irwin. I live at 331 Dwasline Road. I'm going to rely on 3 documents. If they are a copy of the plans that Mr. Villano gave us, that's P3. Picture. Mr. Villano is not in the easiest position to have to encounter all of the people who are unhappy. But he's done a decent job, and I want to commend him on his courtesy. The plans that I gave you are the tentative plans Mr. Villano gave us. If you will note, he shows as to my property that the curb will be, the area between the street and the curb will be concreted over. You know, the case law, and I've been a lawyer for 40 years, under a case called 769, basically says you can do it. If you're ill-advised, you can still do it. So I really don't have all that much of a problem in concept, so long as he only takes that area between the curb and the sidewalk that currently exists. The problem that I have that I want to alert you to is the exchange of correspondence I had with the OPA request. Mr. Villano's plans show that there is a right-of-way. So I sent an OPA request to the town to give me a copy of the conveyance creating the right-of-way. These properties were apparently all developed in about 1896, and I have the map that goes back that far. And guess what? When I asked the city clerk to give me a copy of the document creating the right-of-way, the response was, there is none. So with all due respect, I think you're dramatically underestimating the cost of this project. Because nothing really stops you from doing this, but it's going to cost you a lot more money on the condemnation that's going to result. If you want to do that, more power to you. And please drive safely in the cold weather, in the wet weather tonight. Thank you.
Debbie Irwin, 331 Dwasline Avenue in Passaic. Mr. Villano was very gracious. He came out, met with us, spent a lot of time going from place to place and showing what was going to be done. The plans that you have in front of you don't even show the utility pole that's in front of our house at 331 Dwasline. And where is it going to go? It's going to go into the sidewalk. It's going to be moved out of the grassy area and into the sidewalk. You said you want these sidewalks to be continuous. Continuous. That means all the way down Dwasline, from all the way down on both sides. Well, you have a problem at the Hillbreth house. The sidewalk will not be continuous. In fact, where their property is, it goes into the street. And what's going to be there? We're going to paint it red. And it's not continuous. And where the sidewalks are dangerous, by the cemetery. And there's no sidewalks there. Upon information and belief, there was an accident there last week. A car driving down Dwasline skidded off the roadway. And guess what? It slammed into the cemetery fence. So what are we going to have now? You're changing the roadway, but you don't need sidewalks there. You're changing the roadway, and we're going to have these issues. It's shame on the council who want to do this. Shame on Mayor Anzaldi, who are voting to use taxpayer money of Clifton to do work in Passaic. Shame on all of you. How do you justify spending money that you don't have to do this project, which is totally unnecessary, totally ridiculous? And then what's even more absurd is Clifton that can't even afford to keep officers and having issues. Their taxes are going up 3%. But you want to use this precious money to do work in the city of Passaic. It is ridiculous to put these sidewalks in. Who ever heard of spending Clifton's money in the city of Passaic? Unbelievable. The sidewalks won't be continuous. There's no need for these sidewalks. There's no need to change the road, leave things as is. I thank you.
Good evening. Jim Daly, 170 Beverly Hill Road in Clifton. I am here tonight to introduce Clifton Citizens for Change. We are a nonpartisan, ad hoc, lifelong Clifton residents who have a strong interest and love for our city. Clifton Citizens for Change is an initiative to put forth a ballot question to moderate and improve Clifton's form of government. To do that, we'll be circulating a petition to registered voters so that the citizens of Clifton can decide for themselves if changes are supported by the larger electorate. After decades of Clifton voters being denied the opportunity to directly elect our mayor, Clifton Citizens for Change thinks that's time for the voters to make that decision. Currently, the mayor is selected by 7 newly elected council members at the reorganization meeting for 4 years. Traditionally, the individual garnering the highest number of votes in the preceding election is appointed mayor for the next 4 years. The practice is not prescribed by law, but rather a Clifton tradition. There is no guarantee that this will continue or be deviated from going forward. Under Clifton's antiquated mayoral selection process, the appointment is at the whim of 7 newly elected council members, not the voters. How do we as citizens of Clifton bring about this change? Well, it will take some effort, but it is about empowering ourselves. Under the New Jersey state law, we the voters have the authority to initiate this change. Under the optional municipal charter law, also known as the Faulkner Act, the voters of Clifton can, by petition, the voters can initiate this change with no interference from elected officials. The voters themselves can decide if they should elect their mayor directly. Clifton Citizens for Change believes that the mayoral appointment by this method is undemocratic and disenfranchises the voters from selecting the individual who will serve Clifton as the face of our city. By having voters elect the mayor, candidates for this position will need to present their views, visions, and path forward to the Clifton voters. This will allow the voters to make an informed decision as to who will lead them as mayor when candidates will be called upon to address specific issues facing our city. Clifton, with a population of 89,367, is the 11th largest city in the state of New Jersey. No major New Jersey city allows a newly elected council to select their mayor. We believe that the election of the mayor will allow the voters the opportunity to select a candidate possessing the leadership and vision that best aligns with the issues facing our city. While there are other options available in the law for the voters to change their form of government, Clifton Citizens for Change believes that the primary focus of this effort should be on the election of the mayor. The petition we are asking voters to sign possesses minimal changes to our current form of government. To keep the focus on the initiative on the direct election of the mayor, we propose to keep the city manager form, keep a nonpartisan election, keep all council seats at large, and keep our election in November. If successful, this petition will create a ballot question where voters will ultimately decide how Clifton will move forward. If the ballot petition is passed, the mayor will be directly elected by the voters, chair the municipal council, and will vote only to break a tie. Besides the issue to empower the voters directly to the mayor, the law requires the ballot question to select the method of electing council members. It is this proposal that Clifton will maintain our 1 mayor and 6 council members will be elected in staggered election over 4 years. I'm going to let my colleague, Mr. Grasso, to read the rest of our remarks. Thank you.
Lawrence Grasso, 47 Charles Street. Council, City Manager Villano, to continue with Mr. Daly's comments, this petition also proposes the election of council members with minimal change. It does, however, propose that municipal elections will occur every 2 years in November. The staggered election cycle will allow voters to weigh in on how the city is being governed every 2 years instead of 4, and bringing a higher degree of accountability to our elected officials. In the first election cycle, the position of mayor and 2 council seats will be up for election. The following 2 years, 4 council seats will be up for election. All terms will be 4 years. With keeping the city manager position intact, Clifton's day-to-day management will continue through a chief executive, which requires that the individual holding that position have certified professional credentials. This will provide the city with a higher level of accountability and less politicization within that process and position. This petition for a more modernized government has been developed in adherence to the NJSA 40:69A-82. Our group will be reaching out to all citizens to inform them of the specific details of the changes that we are proposing. We are in the process of developing a website which will be posted shortly along with public forums. We will be inclusive and nonpartisan and welcome all groups who are interested in the betterment of our great city. Thank you very much.
My name is Elaine Kaiser. I live at 345 Dwasline Road in Passaic, New Jersey. Down further? Okay. All right, part of this is repetition. I hope it won't be too much. I'm saying, why is the city of Clifton paying for the removal and replacement of sidewalks in the city of Passaic? You did this about 4 years ago, and due to poor planning on Clifton's behalf, these basically new sidewalks will be destroyed and replaced to widen the street. If you widen the street, the traffic will most likely be increased, creating a much greater problem. My home is on the border of Clifton and Passaic, and the street narrows by about 10 inches to a foot. And it causes cars to slow down when they're coming from Allwood Road, going down to Brook Avenue. And that's the area that's most congested, and there are a lot of children. The other area heading towards Allwood Road from Passaic is basically backyards and cemeteries. I'm concerned that widening this road would be harmful to the families living where I do. I think Clifton can better spend its money elsewhere, and as I live on Dwasline, I already had the maximum amount of property taken away that they built a wall. It's lovely. Now they want to destroy it and take more of my property. And I don't understand how you can possibly do it. I'm told that actually it doesn't belong to me. It's city property. But I'm paying taxes on it. Now, let's see here. The citizens of Clifton should be alarmed and deeply concerned that their taxpayer dollars are to be spent on another city. Passaic is for this, except for the people who live there. And if you really want to spend money, I hear that Bloomfield and Nutley can use sidewalks also. Thank you.
Henry Chelazinski, Clifton, New Jersey. First, I just want to commend Ms. Butler, Ms. Ferrigno. Every time I needed something from the city clerk's office, they were prompt, they were efficient, and they always treated me with the utmost respect. To them I say, Excelsior, keep up the good work. Now, you know I've been here for the last 2 months, every council meeting, prattling on about these spite walks. Let me just recap what my neighbors have said. The night this was voted on, Mr. Villano said this was a $100,000 project. Councilman Gibson said, if you can prove this is a settlement and not a court order, I will change my vote. Later, at the meetings that we had with Mr. Villano, yes, Bill, you did say that, with Mr. Villano, one, he let slip the name of the kingmaker in Rosemar, who is behind this project, and said that he is pressuring some members of the council to do this. Two, the project's, the expense of it has just doubled from $100,000. Mr. Villano said he misspoke at $100,000. Friday, it jumped up to $200,000. Where does this end? So now everybody's here. They're upset about it. They're now as upset as I am. And to this kingmaker in Rosemar, all I could say is this project and the way it's being forced down people's throats is shanda for the goyim. I know his toadies are here, or he's looking at this on TV, and he knows what that means. Thank you.
Good evening, Dominic Iannarella, 98 Rolling Hills Road, candidate for council number 12 on the ballot. I just want to say blessed Yom Kippur to everyone in the Jewish community. Very sacred time of the year, of their calendar year coming up this week, tomorrow at sunset. So blessed Yom Kippur to all of them. I would also like to say for the Disabilities Committee, I think that was great that they were recognized here tonight. There was also the resolution for the Adult Opportunity Center for their lease, the first reading. I think it's really just wonderful. It makes me proud as a citizen and also as a candidate for council to know that we have these types of things in our city where we support our people, we support the people that need help, and I've always seen that it looks like we never fail to let those people down and to be here supporting them. So I think that's wonderful, and I just want to commend everyone involved with all of those aspects. I want to speak briefly. It's been said before by many candidates, and it will continue to be said. I had some real-life experience with it, as I do every week, and many people do, with the traffic situation in the city. I'm an attorney in town, and I constantly have people at my office for closings, or they come for meetings, and I've noticed very frequently that they're having a very difficult time to get there. And the reason is, what the common denominator, the common answer is that they've had these issues with the traffic recently, with the roadblocks and the construction, and how things seem to roll into each other, run into each other. Just last week, it seemed to be an impossibility to get across Paulison, Clifton Ave, Mount Prospect, Brighton, Colfax. I don't know if there's someone out there that's trying to set up a labyrinth in the city, maybe a corn maze for the fall, but it seems like every week it gets even more and more difficult to get across town. So I know that's something that the citizens have been talking about, the candidates have been talking about. I think it's important that we're taking the steps to coordinate with the county, with the city, because the reality is that a lot of this is happening on county roads, and we need to put our foot down with the county, as we have done on other issues, to say that this is our city, and the things that are affecting our citizens, that are affecting our residents and the people that come to the city need to be addressed in a way that is manageable for our people. So I think that's something important that we need to continue to talk about, and that we need to continue to look forward to correcting with this traffic issue. And then lastly, I just want to remind everybody, obviously, there's a ton of candidates that have been speaking at all these different meetings. That will mean nothing if you are not registered to vote. The deadline for voter registration is October 18th. So to everyone out there who is not registered to vote, young people, old people, anyone who needs to do it still, please, you have 2 weeks left, about 15 days left to get it done. So by all means, it is a great right as a citizen. It is a great right as an American. So please make sure that you register to vote so that your voice can be heard on November 8th. Thank you.
My name is Joanne Hilberth. I'm at 324 Dwasline Road. I have the property that is going to be severely damaged in the front with all my shrubs and trees. There's several forsythias, there's rhododendrons, huge ones that have been there for many, many years. There's dogwood tree, another tree that, a large tree that the roots will probably be damaged, and I don't know if that will make it. Some smaller bushes also. The driveway is a problem for you because our property does extend into the street. So the plan that is presented will put a pathway across that will be red. And I feel that it only encourages people to walk into the street because they will be in the street. And the way it cuts then into the next door neighbors who are in Passaic, then they will be kind of awkward because there's a little patch of land that they've said that will have to be made use of for wheelchair people. I don't know how they will fit there. It doesn't look like it's going to fit without banging their arm because there's a telephone pole there. So I think the whole thing is a poor plan and a waste of money and totally unnecessary. I would like you to really reconsider. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council and city residents this evening. My name is Frank Casper, and I live at 54 Hutton Road. I believe the City Council should be run on a more unified manner by all 7 members of the dais. The council should not be run by 4 out of the 7 people to create almost a dictatorship. We need 7 independent minds that exchange ideas with each other until the problems are resolved. A council should have disagreements on political issues, but not on personal items. This affects your professional judgment representing over 80,000 citizens. I believe in the old school practice of personal interaction between people. If someone has a problem, I am only a phone call away. Many people use Facebook for jokes and keeping in touch with old friends. I don't believe it should be used for political debates or remarks. Besides, not all people have computers. I am always open to all suggestions brought before me, but if I'm given the privilege of sitting on the dais representing the people of Clifton, I will not allow my personal feelings to come in conflict with professional decisions that will benefit the city. Thank you.
Francesco Moyo, Allwood Section. Good evening. With a little over a month to go until Election Day, the focus for us candidates is what we intend to do if elected. What will be our priorities? What will we focus on in those first days as an elected council person? I have many issues I'd like to tackle and many ideas on how to solve some of Clifton's challenges. But in speaking with residents over the last few months, the one thing that seems to be most on people's minds is overdevelopment and how it has begun to seep into everyday quality of life issues for our citizens. I hear it over and over and in all parts of the city. It's not just the loss of open space, but increased traffic, overburdening an already aging sewage infrastructure, and putting additional stress on our police, fire department, and school system. Clifton is already 98% developed, and we can't do anything about that. But we can take steps to ensure it doesn't get any worse. Step 1, as a council, we need to prioritize updating the city's master plan so that any development or redevelopment is favorable to our city and its residents, rather than being favorable to developers. I'm ready to do the work, I'm qualified to do the work, and with your vote on November 8th, I'll work for you every single day. Please vote for me for one of your 7 votes, Francesco Moyo, number 6 on the ballot. Thank you.
Good evening. Anthony Maragliata, John Alden Street. I'm following up on my previous comments concerning the State Comptroller's report. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Villano for meeting with me and responding to my questions as best he could at the time without violating any executive privileges. Mr. Villano assured me today that he will be sending me the city's response to the Comptroller's report, so I anxiously await receipt of that. He has also assured me that the city has made the necessary changes to be in compliance with the law concerning the vacation leave and sick leave. You should also know that the Comptroller has submitted his report to the state legislature, and he has testified as to his findings. In response, the legislature has introduced a bill to make changes and strengthen the law on both vacation leave and sick leave. So please be aware of that so that in the future we continue to be in compliance with whatever changes there are on the state level. Since I have the podium, I'll just take a moment. As we all know, it's election season. Sometimes in politics it's called the silly season because perhaps people do silly things during this time. So I just want to share with you that I received an unsolicited campaign email from a council candidate whom I will not identify. It's not unusual to receive campaign literature, except for the fact that we don't know each other personally, we don't have each other's email addresses. So I wondered, how did this candidate get my personal email address? So I asked. After a few days, no response. So I asked again. To this day, no response, which is probably more troubling than receiving the unsolicited email in the first place. So, how does a candidate expect to be taken seriously when they are not responsive? What kind of council person will this candidate be if not responsive to citizen inquiries? Perhaps the candidate is concerned about divulging the source of the email address, especially if the addresses were not to be shared. Maybe there's a simple explanation. Maybe it's an unintended consequence of an approach that was not well thought out to begin with. A mistake, perhaps, or maybe it's just the silly season. But there's nothing silly about running for public office. And it's serious business when you get there, if you get there. I trust the citizens of Clifton will elect serious-minded candidates. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Antonio Tona, 29 Samuel Ave. I'm number 10 on the ballot for Clifton Council. For those who watched the last council meeting, you heard me speak about the residents waiting to call a timeout to any further residential or commercial projects. We need to get ahead of our quality of life issues, aging infrastructure, traffic, flooding issues before we consider any further development. The next council's first and most priority, as you heard me say, must be to make drastic upgrades to our master plan and zoning laws to make sure we don't get into problems like we're experiencing now ever again. As you previously heard me state, I will not vote for any development that drastically changes the landscape of our neighborhoods. It is my belief that any further development must come with development agreements
that the developer, not the taxpayers, has to pay for the infrastructure upgrades before any development takes place. Let me be clear. I'm 110% in favor of smart and size-appropriate development to our city. For the record, I have not taken any donations from developers, contractors, or crowd-funded lawyers. Ladies and gentlemen, I wear that as a badge of honor. Because if we want to understand our problems in Clifton, we need to focus on who's profiting from those problems and not those of us who are suffering from them. Another part of my contract with Clifton is devoted to our seniors and disabled residents. For years, I've heard grumblings about our seniors being on waiting lists to get into senior housing complexes. I must say I agree with their concerns and that they've spent their entire lives as residents of our great city, yet they don't receive first priority to locate here and sometimes forced to move outside the city. I will work with my council colleagues, if elected, to look into a residents' priority list so our Clifton seniors and disabled residents have an opportunity to stay in the city that they're comfortable in and they love. Speaking of my priority list, my contract with Clifton also finally makes real concentrated effort to bring residential requirements back for our emergency services and city employees. Our city is much different than it was 30 years ago. Our residents are more diverse to the community we serve, and the roots of our future police officers, firefighters, and city employees should receive priority hiring opportunities like most other surrounding cities. Having more residents working in our city they live in will enhance our quality of life and to our residents and safety. I'm not going to get deep into recycling and garbage as we have a recycling meeting tomorrow. But last meeting I spoke yet again, and I'm still perplexed by your response, Mr. Villano. You only mentioned a fuel stipulation in a contract bid. On August 6th, we had a recycling committee meeting before the city council meeting where we would do a 2-year garbage contract due to higher inflation, fuel, labor costs. We unanimously agreed that it would not be cost-effective for the taxpayers to lock into a 5-year tonnage-based contract. The numbers the contract was going to be based on was during COVID lockdown from 2 years ago when we were averaging 32,000 tons. While right now we're averaging 20,000 tons. Does that make any financial sense to anyone listening? Also this year we made drastic changes to our recycling program, going to a simple commingling, which is not only more convenient to the residents, but provides better services and taxpayers to the taxpayers, while also looking to expand weekly pickups while we educate our residents to further decrease our garbage tonnage. At that council meeting, Mr. Gibson, Mr. Grabowski reiterated all the same information I'm referring to right now. So again, Mr. Villano, can we get some clarification on whether the updated bids sent out were updated to include the tonnage-based contract bid that we unanimously agreed to by the committee? If not, why? Failure to follow those recommendations will cost the residents and taxpayers hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in the future. So in closing, I'm number 10 on the ballot for City Council. Again, I'm the only veteran running with over 30 years of military service and leadership experience, and I'm asking you, the voters, to choose me as one of your 7 votes when deciding who you'd like to represent the next council term. You can also follow me at Facebook at Tony Latona for Clifton City Council, email at teamclifton2022@gmail.com. Thank you again. Have a good night. Please be safe over the next few days as this nor'easter sweeps across the area. God bless America, and please continue to pray for Ukraine.
Chris D'Amato, Merrill Road. You know, never let it be said that Clifton doesn't have recreational activities as often as possible. It seems every 2 weeks we have a big parade of candidates coming up here. It's quite a scene. So I want to talk tonight about a couple different things, but the timing of this meeting is fortuitous because the time between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is a time for reflection. And you know, thinking about yourself and where you could be doing better. And on my website, I have 18 issues up that directly affect Clifton residents that I've heard from people talking out and campaigning. And the most important page on my site, I think, is one about humility, because humility in leadership is perhaps the most important thing, and it's the most severely lacking. And I'm not talking about the council necessarily, just general leadership in the world today is lacking a certain sense of humility. Humility is an acknowledgement that you don't know everything. Humility is not getting defensive when residents come forth with concerns and working productively with people you may not like personally. And look, there's 17 candidates. There's a few of them that may not make my Christmas card list, but if I'm elected, if I'm lucky enough to serve, I'm going to work with all of them, and I'm going to put any personal animosity aside to do what needs to be done for the city. In short, humility is an acknowledgement that the job is bigger than you. And that's one thing I can promise to the citizens of Clifton, is that in a time where we're all slapping our name onto signs and pens and banners, that humility is at the forefront of a lot of our minds. And I'm going to be voting for candidates who demonstrate humility and the qualities that I have laid out. A couple quick direct questions about the Civil Rights Committee, though. I guess philosophically, when I think about rights, rights are something that are inherent to United States citizens. They're inherent to the residents of Clifton. By virtue of being born here in the United States, in the city of Clifton, you have rights, natural rights gifted to you. That's what our structure of government is based on, the idea that every individual is treated with rights. And those aren't given by the government. Those are occurring naturally. And it's important for us to think about the fact that, well, what impedes those rights? Well, institutions impede rights, individuals impede rights, businesses impede rights. In the function of a civil rights committee, I have to ask the question of you, and I'd be happy to hear any of your answer on this. Does the Civil Rights Committee really need any city representation on it at all? Do we need city council members on the Civil Rights Committee? Do we need city employees on the Civil Rights Committee? It would seem to me that such a committee's function would be to hold this very body and other institutions within the city government accountable to the civil rights of the residents. So that's my question. Do we need city representation on the Civil Rights Committee? Why can't they just come to their own conclusions and meet with residents and deal with issues that come up and then report back to the council? Lastly, take a close look at what's going on in Patterson with these bikes and these ATVs. I think a lot of people are going to be making their way into Clifton because they know that they'll get their bikes destroyed in Patterson. That's something we may need to keep an eye out, because everyone I talk to is complaining about these bikes and these ATVs and these vehicles that shouldn't be on the road. So just something to bring to everybody's attention. I'm Chris D'Amato. I'm number 13 on the ballot. You can check out my website, chrisforclifton.com. And I'm going to be visiting around 16 of our city parks over the course of the next month, meeting with residents who live nearby. You'll get word if you live near any of these parks. These aren't formal events. It's just me hanging out, giving you a few hours to come meet me, hang out in our park, and talk. So thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Samantha Bassford, Clifton, New Jersey, and I am not one of the 18 candidates for running for city council, but I am number 8 candidate running for Board of Education. Thank you for your laugh. That was a joke. I'm also not a spell that made Judy Bassford younger. It's really me, Samantha Bassford. Though other people may think this is witchcraft, that is a story that no one has time for tonight. It was funny to me that I had a whole speech prepared, and there was a comment made today that inspired me to speak about something differently. And I'm going to be brave to say things that may not make everybody in this room happy, and that's okay when you're a leader. It's funny to me that being civil was mentioned before public comments. And I'll tell you how that relates to me. If there's something I can promise to voters, is that I will keep it 100. which means keeping it real, telling it how it is. There will never be a guessing game with me because I'm not a politician. I'm just a person who really cares. If leadership in this town, in this city, on both sides of the street has been anything but civil. Each time I sit in a meeting, I find myself more disappointed in our leaders. Even last council meeting here, I saw the not correct way to agree to disagree, and I cannot understand why other council members would bystand to certain behavior. Some of the worst rumors have been started with people who sit on this dais, and that, as a voter, myself, shame on you. You have let me down and many others. In this election, especially for council, you may have prior experience, but in the polls, you're equal to everyone else who gets to get a vote for. You don't have to like each other, but you must respect each other. And I won't make promises that I can't or align myself with others because it's simply beneficial. If you want an unattached candidate, then that's why you should consider voting for me. I believe in progress and believe in reaching the common goal. I get it. My mom's the powerful Judy Bassford. But standing here, I'm putting everything I got on the line to be a part of another thankless job. And if I can't change your mind, so be it. So there is something to consider for this election, and this includes in candidates. Pay attention to candidates, who they're running with, who are their circle of supporters, who are they willing to stand by knowing unethical things have occurred, and really think about the future you want in this city. If you resonate with that, then remember, vote on November 8th, number 8, for the better Bassford, because seeing is what you get, and this is just my beginning.
Good evening. Dr. Alessia Ramo, 35 Merrill Road. Last Friday, 10 new trees were planted at Dunny Park. This was done with a grant that the Beautification Committee received, which I'm on. And I just want to give a quick thank you to Mr. Villano. I proposed this to him probably about a year ago, and he was always very supportive of me leading it. So it was a really great project. The trees look really great. DPW provided assistance with setup and cleaning up. We had volunteers to do the planting. So it was really a nice project, and I hope everyone gets a chance to go to Dunny Park and see our 10 new trees. So now what I wanted to talk about tonight, real quick, to anyone who hasn't seen me yet, I'm number 4 on the City Council ballot this November 8th. And to all the council members who will remain on the council, I just want to tell you that I look forward to working with you. And to hopefully my future constituents, I just want to tell you that I look forward to working for you. I'm someone who's running to prioritize your needs and to apply a logical, information-based, and professional approach to helping you and addressing the issues that most affect your life. I hope you will check out more of what I'm about on my website, alessiaforcouncil.com. I hope you will visit back as I update it with the events I will be attending. Hopefully I'll get a chance to meet you and chat before the election. And if you see me around, feel free to introduce yourself to me. I want to hear what you care about. Or reach out to me in whatever form is convenient to you. I'm also on Facebook, and I'm on TikTok and Instagram. You can get to all of my social media handles from my website. And, you know, it did take my husband 4 months to learn my name, so for anyone not familiar with Italian names, I'm gonna spell it. It's Alessia, A-L-E-S-S-I-A, and my website is alessiaforcouncil.com. I have no questions tonight, but appreciate this opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Good evening.
My name is Elba Morales. I live at 7 Washington Avenue, and I'm with my landlord and my landlady. My concern is with the noise that's happening around Clifton. When I first moved here about 3 or 4 years ago, and by the way, I'm a veteran, I'm a disabled veteran, there wasn't that much noise. There wasn't these cars with these mufflers. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know why it doesn't stop. You know, there's no reason for this. And just because somebody installs it, it's all right. If you don't stop at the petty things, it escalates. And this is what's happening. It is escalating. And you're talking about the motorcycles and all of these vehicles. It's here. It's not only in Patterson, it's here, all right? Where I live, you get down Main Avenue or Getty Avenue, you see it everywhere. You see it, we hear it. I do not like noise, you know, and what's going on is my landlord and my landlady, they are preparing to move, and they are good citizens, barbosas, you know, and as you can see, we're probably, the only Puerto Ricans here? And everybody who's running for council, I've never seen you, I've never heard of you. Have you reached out to us? Have you come to us? I've never seen you. You know? So please look at the average citizen. I'm not rich. I don't have that much money. But I do believe, and I serve the United States Army because I love my country. And I love Clifton. But, you know, you're going to be forcing me to move out. So somebody has to do something. And this money with the sidewalks and all this, this is ridiculous. I'm new here, and I think it's ridiculous. Use the money for the police. You know, you can't, one time there was noise, and it was before 10 o'clock, which is the witching hour. And what happens? Well, we can't do anything because, no. What is civility? What happened to civility? What are we going to do about it? I'm here as a concerned citizen. I vote, but again, I don't know you people. I know that you're a veteran. Thank you for your service. But that's it. I don't know any of you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jose Barbosa. I live in 7 Washington Avenue, Clifton. He is my tenant. I've been living in Clifton for the last 37 years. I lived in Knapp Avenue 16 years. Never had problem with my neighbors. Moved to Washington Avenue in 2001. I never have problems with my neighbors. But in the last 4 years, some of the houses in that area, the owners sell them to somebody else. And we have 4 neighbors who like to party a lot. And sometimes they started at 12 o'clock in the day, or maybe before, and 1 o'clock in the morning, they still with the noise. Not only with loud mouth, talking loud, but loud music. And those 4 neighbors, when we call the police, all they say is that they have the right to be in the yard. I don't mind that. If they want to be in the yard, okay, because I have a yard too, and sometimes I sit down in my yard. But I don't put loud music, and I don't talk loud because I don't want to bother my neighbors. But these people who moved there for the last 4 years, they don't give us peace. the noise, we hear it in the living room. And when we want to watch the news or anything else in the TV, we cannot hear it because of the noise. And I would love, to, if the city can do something about it, because it's not right for us. We love this city. That's why I moved here 37 years ago. And I don't want to move, but like my tenants say, in this last year, I started to look to move somewhere else where I have peace, where I have good neighbors. We are praying to God about that because we want a peaceable city. And if all the peaceable people move out of Clifton, they're going to have more problems because they're going to have more noisy people. People who move from other places where there is noise all the time. And we don't want that here in Clifton. So thank you very much. And we appreciate if the city can do something about it. And another thing, in Getty Avenue, between Piaget and Clifton Avenue, in the last 2 years, people driving like crazy. I remember when I first moved there in 2001, they used to have an officer with the radar, and they give so many tickets, and people stop driving fast, but they remove the officer from there, and they go back to do the same thing. And we appreciate if the city do something about this. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Good evening. My name is Dana Beltran. I reside at 130 River Walkway. I apologize for my attire. Due to a dog care situation, I didn't have a chance to go home and change after work. Gustavo is actually in the car right now, but don't worry, he's toasty listening to Cool Jams. I did get a report that he barked at somebody out there, but German Shepherds will German Shepherd. I'm here tonight to announce the donation program I'll be running with my campaign. My campaign is 100% self-funded, meaning I am having no pay-to-enter meet and greets and no PayPal links on my website. I will be taking nothing from Clifton, only giving back, which is what I promise to continue to do over the next 4 years if elected for council. I'm going to be donating to worthy causes selected directly by my supporters. For every bumper sticker, it'll be $1. For every lawn sign, $2. And for every big sign on high visibility lots, it'll be $50. Although it seems I missed the memo on the size of the signs we'd be using this year, so please don't read too much into the bigger the sign, the better the candidate. It isn't the size of the sign, it's the heart behind it. Driving around has me thinking maybe I should have collected some money because some of these signs are bigger than me. But anyway, if you're interested in participating and supporting me with a pleasantly sized sign on your lawn or car, you can reach out via Facebook, cell phone, or email. My family and myself have a lifelong history of philanthropy. Over the last 4 years alone, we have donated close to $200,000, with $8,000 of that going to the Superintendent's Scholarship Fund, and 5 pallets of water going to the city when we ran out during last year's hurricane, along with numerous other smaller donations scattered throughout the years. I thank you in advance for your votes on November 8th. Off to work we go. Remember vote number 3. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Good afternoon, Steve Goldberg, number 8 on the ballot. And we must be deep into election season because a lot of the candidates are sending out an SOS. What is an SOS? Signs on steroids. That's an SOS. The bigger the sign, the better the candidate. Doesn't seem to be enough to have a sign. We got to get a bigger sign. You know, I was going to get a sign, and I was going to put my picture on. And I was going to put my picture on a sign. And then I looked in the mirror and said, no one's going to vote for this face. So then I wanted to put George Clooney's picture on my sign. And I called ELOC, and they said, no, that's not allowed. So I'm not having signs. But if you want to support me, there are four things you can do. You can vote for me. That would be great. You can make your own Goldberg sign. That would be great. You can make a sign with George Clooney and put it on your lawn. That would be great. Or I always say, you know, if you vote for me, do it for your home. You can wrap a ribbon around somewhere outside the front of your home, whether it's a tree, whether it's the staircase, wherever, because I have been talking about overdevelopment forever, and the council has just not been listening forever. So I think it's time we really did something about overdevelopment. And not only am I not having signs, but I'm really trying to spend zero money on my election. So, I don't know, am I the only one who find it odd that candidates spend tens of thousands of dollars on an election that pays $4,000 a year? Am I the only one that finds that odd? Am I the only one that finds it odd where I keep asking the question, where the hell is the money coming from? Am I the only one that asks the question, how different would Clifton be today if there wasn't so much of this money in local politics? How many less strip malls would we have? How many less Dunkin' Donuts would we have? How many less Dunkin' dollar stores would we have? I don't know. Likewise, I don't know how many more trees we would have if the money wasn't there in politics. How many more parks we might have. And how many less floods we might have. So no, I'm not spending any money on my election because I don't believe big money belongs in politics, especially local politics. I also ask anyone who votes for me to not bullet vote, because any candidate that says, just vote for me, cares more about themselves than Clifton, because Clifton needs change. And I stand here as a candidate, but also as a voter, because I sure as hell am going to vote for myself and at least 3 other people, because I don't want to be on the council making noise. I want to be on the council making change. And I think we finally are at the time in Clifton where we're going to have at least 2 new council people. We can get 4, maybe even more, people who are really out to make change. You know, and as a voter, what do I want? I don't want a candidate that's trying to impress me with how much money they can spend. Matter of fact, the more I see pictures of candidates and signs around town, the less I want to vote for them. I want a candidate who's going to spend time sharing with me their beliefs. And someone said, well, they don't believe in Facebook because not everyone has a computer. Well, not everyone has a TV. Not everyone has a phone. But social media is a wonderful way to get in touch with thousands of people. There's a Facebook, Clifton Facebook page that with over 2,000 members, and they asked council people who are running for council, they asked them questions. I think about a third of the candidates are answering those questions. And that's a shame. You want my vote? Tell me what you're going to do. It's as simple as that. Even if I disagree with you, I'll have more respect for you if you tell me what you're going to do than not saying anything at all. Because I know why you're not saying anything at all, because you want to pander both sides. Well, tomorrow is Yom Kippur, and I just want to say
Mr.
to
Goldberg.
those I may have wronged, I ask forgiveness. To those I have helped, I wish I had done more. To those I neglected to help, I ask for understanding. To those who helped me, I thank you with all my heart. Thank you, everyone. Let's have a great election.
Good evening, Abraham Eisman, 706 Passaic Avenue, Clifton. I'm the last candidate on the ballot, and hopefully I'm the last speaker tonight. So last on the ballot, first for you, number 17. I think that gets some applause. To the resident who spoke earlier, ma'am, I did not catch your name. I apologize. Obviously, there are 58,000 voters in Clifton. We try, all the candidates try hard to meet everybody, but if you'd like afterwards, I'd be more than happy to speak with you, discuss my plans and why you should vote for me. And that goes to any resident watching tonight. If you'd like to meet me, you can reach me via Facebook, via WhatsApp, text. My phone number is 201-463-8933. My phone's almost always on, so you call me. I will try to get back to you. Shoot me a text. I will get back to you as soon as I can. You can also email me, abraham@eismanforcouncil.com. My website is eismanforcouncil, either the number or forcouncil.com. A lot of candidates spoke tonight, and they gave all their ideas, and I agree with a lot of them. I want to fix the flooding. I want to fix the overdevelopment in the city. I want to pay our police more. But what makes me different from those other candidates? And that's my background. I come from emergency medicine. I was an EMT, both paid and volunteer. I still volunteer as an EMT till this day. I worked as a bedside nurse. I worked throughout the pandemic as a bedside nurse, through everything that threw at us. Not enough PPE, not enough beds, not enough ventilators. Didn't matter. We kept working 80-plus hours a week, 16-hour shifts to fight for our patients. We work as a team and we work together. Now I'm an emergency nurse practitioner. I split my time between hospitals and urgent cares. And again, I'm always focusing on what's best for my patient, not what's best for me. But the only way I accomplish anything in medicine is not me alone. I can't save a patient myself. I only can do that by working with a team. And when we work as a team, we accomplish great things in medicine, and the same thing for council. We got to work together as a team, and I will bring that to the council, where I will bring everybody together, identify their strengths, use those strengths to better the city, do great things for the city to achieve optimal outcomes for the city by working in unity and as a team. So on November 8th, please consider me as one of your candidates to vote for. Thank you, and have a good night.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Okay, I need motions in order. Can I have a motion to close?
If no one wishing to be heard, move the public portion be closed.
Second.
Thank you. Today would normally be my time to speak first, so I'm going to use my 10 minutes now to keep the order going. First, I'd like to congratulate the Disabilities Committee on their award. I appreciate that, and I know you do a lot. Secondly, I'm on the Beautification Committee with Alessia. Said it right? And she's been on the committee a few years. I'm not too many, but she's done a lot for us, and the 10 trees that were planted is because of her, and we have a few other grants that she's gotten over the years. So thank you. I know it's not easy writing these things, and we get awarded them because of your efforts. So thank you for that. I have one question, Mr. Villano. We did address the Allwood Road sidewalks. We're working on that, right? Because someone mentioned the Allwood Road sidewalks? Allwood Place, yeah.
Yes, they're going to be putting them in.
Okay, I'm just curious. I know
Those few houses are going to put them in.
Okay, I know we're working on that. And then, over the weekend, we had a Polish flag raising, and actually, Councilman Peter Igler, first time out in probably a year and a half, showed up and did a phenomenal job. Actually, it's very emotional to see him after all of these, actually, I want to say years, but probably a year and a half. He came in, he ran the program like he always does. He's always, the Polish flag raising, Peter has always been a big part of that. And of course, phenomenal historian. He knows more history than probably anybody I know. So I want to thank Peter for coming. It seems like he's doing a miraculous recovery. Hopefully he'll be back on the council, before the end of the term to fill out, his terms with that, and that'd be great. So Peter, I know you can hear me. Thank you for that. And let me see. Yeah, that's all I have right now. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Wow. First, I'd like to say that all the candidates, I've followed a lot of elections, and I have to say, all the candidates that are running this year are all intelligent. They have great ideas. It's actually a pleasure to listen to them come to the microphone and say what their plans are and their ideas are, so I guess that's a plus for our city. Mr. Barbosa, are you still here? Yes, hi. I have had the exact same problem that you had. I had neighbors behind me that were having loud parties, and like you said, you could hear the music in the house. In fact, my house was vibrating. That's how loud the music was. And we are actually working on something right now. This council is working on something that's going to stop that problem. I can't go into detail because it's not out for the public yet, but I promise you it is being worked on. Allwood Place, Councilman Gorowski just spoke about that, and we are, if I have my way, we will be putting sidewalks on Allwood Place. And thank you to all the citizens from Dwarsline that came to this meeting. And I understand what you're saying about using taxpayer dollars, and you're the taxpayers, but there are also a lot of other taxpayers who came in front of this council and the council prior to this one, saying that they need the sidewalks because for safety reasons. And I know many of you don't agree with that, but we didn't just come up with this plan out of the blue and say, let's go put some sidewalks there. There was people coming forward that are taxpayers as well who say that they needed the sidewalks. What else do I have? I'll do the recreation news. The Halloween parade and costume contest and Harvest Fest are Sunday, October 30th here at City Hall Complex. And the Halloween parade contest will start at 12:15 sharp and work its way down Van Houten Avenue as we always have in the past. And there's different age categories. And if you need to know more information about your child or your pet being in the Halloween costume contest and parade, call 973-470-5956. Salute to Veterans this year is November 10th, and it's open to veterans residing in Clifton only. So maybe the lady who's the Barbosa's tenant might want to participate in this. Thursday, November 10th, meals will be delivered to the veterans' home rather than having everybody together because COVID is still around. And if you want to register for this and you're a veteran of Clifton, number 973-470-5956. And also Peddlers Village, they're having a trip there on November 5th, leaving from City Hall, and that's at 8:15 in the morning, and it's $20 per person. Again, if you need more information, call the Recreation Department. I'm on the board of the Salvation Army of Clifton and Passaic, and kettle season is coming up where they hold, they have the kettles outside stores to raise money for the Salvation Army. So if you'd like any information about the kettles, it's called Adopt a Kettle, or you have a business that you would allow a kettle to be placed in front of, you can call me at 201-893-0473. We had the opening of Richardson Scale Park last Thursday, the ribbon cutting, and there's pickleball courts, bocce ball, checkers, chess, and a beautiful picnic area, and hopefully all our citizens can enjoy going to that park, which was upgraded a lot. Thank you again to the Disabilities Committee for coming tonight and for allowing me to be part of your committee. We have some heated times in our meetings, but we're doing good work. And that's all I have for tonight, Councilman.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I apologize if I'm a little repetitive, but I also want to congratulate the disability community on a job well done. Thank you for your commitment to the city. This weekend, as Councilman Grabowski mentioned, there was the Polish flag raising, which I attended, and also the parade on Sunday. It was great. Thank you to the Polish community for welcoming us. Let me just get some stuff here. So my sister sent us this information. Gigi, thank you. She's actually does taxes. And she said, so I wanted to share this with the residents. Not sure if you're aware of the recent New Jersey approved 2019 anchor property tax relief program for tenants and homeowners. Homeowners with a household income of less than $150,000 can get a $1,500 rebate. Homeowners with a household income between $150,000 and $250,000 can receive $1,000. Renters with incomes up to $150,000 will receive $450 each. In the upcoming days, you should receive a correspondence from New Jersey that will require you to fill out no later than December 30th, 2022 to qualify for the property tax and rent relief rebate. I actually received already mine in the mail. So if you haven't, be on the lookout. And if you already have, remember there is a deadline to file. Additionally, I wanted to share a message from the Theater League of Clifton. Due to unforeseen circumstances, we had to postpone Witches and Warlocks, but we have substituted for something just as amazing. It's the Great American Songbook. The dates continue to be the same. It's going to be held at the Elks Lodge on October 22nd at 7:30 and Sunday, October 30th at 2 p.m. The cost for the ticket is $45. It's a dinner, theater, and show. There will be 4 professional singers, including 2 of our very own Clifton residents. And the Theater League looks forward to seeing you all there. And I believe the tickets are currently on sale. For more information, you can go to the Theater League's website. Again, just to be repetitive, the last day to vote, please go out to vote. It's October 18th. And I briefly just want to address some of the speakers that came out. I know there was a lot of speakers, so I apologize. If I missed you, I did have my notes. The speakers who came out regarding the sidewalks, I thank you for coming out, and I'm going to repeat where my stance is with the sidewalk. I don't know, I hear what happened, depends on who you speak with prior to my time on council, depends on the story you get with regards to how the sidewalk issue transpired. That all being said, when I came on council, I made a promise that I would be objective and I would make my own assessments of situations. So I did take a ride maybe 2-3 years ago when the topic first came out when I was on council, down to the area where there's one line, I can never pronounce this, the name of the street. But anyway, I went over there, and it was in the evening. And I was driving, and there was a woman walking. She was dressed in black. And thankfully, I was paying attention, and I saw her, and she crossed the street. But if I would have maybe looked down to change the radio, or, we all get distracted, right? We're all human. I don't even want to imagine what could have happened, right? So how do you put a dollar amount on a person's life? Okay, now again, I don't know any of that history, but based on that is where I stand as far as supporting the sidewalks. Now, Gayo and a couple other speakers, again, I respect where you stand on this, but you did also mention, and you brought up Allwood Place and the park, and how there are no sidewalks there, and how you feel that it's dangerous. And I 100% agree with you as well. I'm not only for sidewalks where we're putting them now on that Dwys Line Road, but I'm also for sidewalks throughout the city. I believe, and I also believe that any new construction should have sidewalks. And I don't know if Henry is still here, but thank you, there you are. At the last council meeting, you and I had a conversation outside, and I told you just that. I do believe that it should be, I'm sorry, just a couple of minutes, it should be fair for everyone, and I would follow up with Mr. Villano, and I have, and I did, and he continues to work on that to ensure that that is pushed through. So I apologize. There is some time constraint with, and I want to get to other people, but that's where I stand. Really quick, Chris, your question with regards, do I feel that we need to have city representation on the committee, on the Civil Rights Committee? The answer is yes. I believe we should. I believe that the city manager should have a seat at the table because he is the main person that needs to know what is happening or not happening in the city to promote equality, right? I think the ears need to be there because if there's something that comes up in the committee, we don't have time for us to go back and report it on council. No, things need to be addressed. I also believe that the equal opportunity officer in the city also should have a seat at the table because exactly what the committee is, right? Civil Rights Committee. You know, as far as representation from the police, you know, I could go either way. I think it's a good idea in the event for them to know what is really happening out there. You know, the residents are the police extra eyes and ears, right? But then I can also understand the intimidation part of it. So, you know, that's something we can look at. And I think feedback should also come from the residents, which is the reason why I'm pushing for us to, let's get this going. Let's have that seat at the table, all of us, and let's start having those discussions. So I hope that answered your question. And I just, Elba and Jose, like Councilwoman Murphy said, we are actually already discussing the noise issue. This is unfortunately a quality of life issue that has been going on. Seems to be getting worse every year, but we are on it and we're absolutely mindful of that. Just be a little bit more patient with us. And on that note, I think I touched on everyone, but if I didn't, I apologize. Thank you so much, Councilman, for the extra time, and have a good night, everyone. Get home safe.
Councilwoman Sajikula.
Good evening. For those in the audience, I will not be addressing from this dais the Dwaz Line sidewalks because my property is one of the properties. I live on Dwaz Line Road. So those people in the audience who don't know where I live, that's why I will not address it. But Mr. Villano, actually it's Mr. Piori. I'm a bit confused. Can you please, for the edification of the public and Matt Fagan, our reporter here in the room, why did we go into executive session to discuss the noise ordinance?
The noise ordinance portion that was in camera related to potential litigation that related to ordinances that are found to be unconstitutional. If you had adopted a noise ordinance that is inconsistent with the state model noise ordinance or was preempted by another state statute and you collected funding from that ordinance, the city would be required to repay all of the fines it collected. You are more than free if you'd like to discuss the resolution that was ultimately agreed to by the council.
So then, Mr. Villano, because we have residents in the audience, and I feel your pain. It's not a day that doesn't go by that we get calls. I get calls. This past weekend, a friend of mine who lives off of Valley Road, a party till 2 o'clock in the morning with noise blasting, and the police were called. And we need more police in this city. We need more police. We have crime on the rise to deal with, and the residents that were having the party got very nasty. So, Mr. Villano or Mr. Piori, can you tell the citizens what is being done? Because they deserve answers. We sit up here and we say, we want to, but I'm glad that you agree that we can discuss it because I didn't see anything that we shouldn't discuss in it because there is no change to the ordinance.
So it was specifically, there was a lot of discussion about whether to adopt a new ordinance different from the model noise ordinance that the state required us to pass back in 2001. We did extensive research on it, and there's actually a memo from the state back in 2008 which indicates that either it could be enforced by the health officers under the state model ordinance, which unfortunately requires you to take decibel readings, which is very impractical, or alternatively, we can enforce it under something much more severe and carries much stricter penalties, which is maintaining a nuisance, which is what people do when they have unnecessary and unreasonable noise coming from their homes. The police can write that summons under maintaining a nuisance. It's a disorderly persons offense. It carries up to 6 months in jail, a $1,000 fine, or the person could be placed on probation. So the recommendation to the police is to use the existing state statute under maintaining a nuisance, which carries the strictest penalties.
Thank you. So please, if there is noise, please call the police and please report it. And again, I will give you my telephone number, and I know the city manager gives out his number. We want to get this solved. Our quality of life is important. That's why we move here. I understand. I had to live all summer with facing grass that was 9 feet tall, 9 feet tall, despite ordinances, because we have selective enforcement in this town, and it's time it stops. It's time it stops. 9 feet high. He got away with it all summer. Even though there was an emergency order, 48 hours he had to cut it. Guess what? We waited another 7 days. So I understand. Mr. Villano, I did ask at the last council meeting for the recycling numbers, the tonnage that we've collected. I don't see them in the packet. I also asked for a list of the available grants that for flooding, the available grants and the time frame, because as anyone knows, when you apply for a grant, there's a time frame. You have to apply by a certain date, then it has a certain date when it's going to be awarded. We again, and I know the residents in any of the areas in the city that flood, we're on pins and needles with this hurricane coming up. It's time we do something. Let's see. I have a couple of, Anthony, you shouldn't have to wait for the letter. It's right in our council packet. It's CM number 3. It's a public document. You should have it.
Councilwoman, I emailed it to Anthony this afternoon.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. Chris, I hear your concerns with the Civil Rights Committee, but this is a problem. Everything we do should have input from our citizens. We formed this committee. It was formed, it was passed, the formation, on second reading. Then all of a sudden, we have employees that want to become members of the committee. We should have involved people from the beginning. This is a committee of the people. Transparency makes good government. We need to involve people. And I agree with you. I question that as well, because this is a committee of citizens. It should be. But I think we missed the boat. This isn't a committee of city employees. This is a committee for the residents. So I hear you. I do have a couple of other things. Oh, Mr. Fiore, on the agenda today is resolution number 464-22, resolution amending the salary of the city manager, and it says, resolution amending the salary of the city manager, be it resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Clifton that the base salary of the city manager, Dominic Villano, be and hereby is increased as follows. Effective January 1st, 2023, $210,000. Effective January 1st, 2024, $223,000. Effective January 1st, 2025, $236,000. Effective January 1st, 2026, $249,000. This is the first time that I have seen adjustments to a salary be in a resolution rather than as first and second ordinance reading. And I point to ordinance number that we did first reading tonight of ordinance number 7769-22, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 99 of the Code of the City of Clifton entitled Salaries and Compensations. More particularly, it's the minimum max, it fixes and amends the salary of Chief Municipal Prosecutor. So why, in 4 years and 8 years from my first term, this is the first time I see a salary adjustment in a resolution?
Actually, Councilwoman, that's incorrect. The city manager's contract is set by resolution, and then this doesn't take effect until January of 2023. So in January of 2023, with the 23 resolutions that set salaries, there'll be a first and second reading of the ordinance. But his contract is actually set by resolution.
His contract, can you provide a copy of the contract? Because I don't remember seeing a copy of the contract in 4 years.
Sure.
Okay. And I will be voting no on this tonight because I don't believe that this council should vote for a 4-year raise when this is past our term in office. That we are tying the hands of the next council because we have already given a salary increase of 4 years. And I believe it was in March of 2019 when we did give you when this council, I did not vote for it then, was a salary increase. It was just when the military police discrimination meeting where we had hundreds and hundreds of people. And at that time, I said, until I have a resolution and people are held accountable and resolved, I cannot vote for your raise. Again, that issue still is outstanding. To date, we have never received the Palmer report. So I will not be voting for this because I don't believe this council has the right to vote for salary increases past our term of office. Mr. Daley, thank you for Mr. Daley, thank you for coming forth. It takes courage and it takes a lot of work, but when you want change, you have to do something about it. So I'd like to hear more about your proposal, and I hope you come and have social media and to inform. I have some additional questions that I'd like to ask you, but thank you for coming forth.
Councilwoman, sorry, I have to cut you off.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Eagler?
Thank you very much, Councilman Grabowski. Thank you for your kind words concerning the Polish flag raising that was held this past weekend in conjunction with Pulaski Day. We've been raising the Polish flag at City Hall for the past 40 years, and the attendance was very well at the meeting, as well as the representation from the council that was there and the candidates that came to meet with the Polish community. General Pulaski was a Polish-born American general that died at the Battle of Savannah, Georgia in 1779, answering the call of the American colonists who were in favor of revolution and getting rid of the British government. He died at the attack of Savannah, as I said, in 1779, and he's annually remembered with the Pulaski Parade Day in New York City. Clifton had a large contingent that went to the parade in New York City, and even though the weather was inclement, the parade was held, and spirits were high, even though the sun was not shining. As already been mentioned by Councilwoman Pino concerning the new Anchor program, the forms were mailed out to our town. If you didn't receive a green and white form in the mail, this is the new homestead rebate program, is now called Anchor. Residents who were living in their homes in 2019 or were renting, residents who made up to $150,000 a year were receiving a rebate of $1,500 that will be applied most likely to their May 2023 tax bill. Residents who receive their income taxes show that they were making income was $150,000 to $250,000, receive $1,000 in the rebate. The renters will be receiving a monetary check in the amount of $450 for the landlord. So you have to call in or use the online program. That's all explained in the flyer that's being mailed to you. If any of our seniors need additional help in filling out that, to receive that income, they can call the senior office, and Margaret Nisk will gladly help you fill out the form. The phone number to call is 973-470-2234. 973-470-2234. In addition, if any of the seniors didn't fill out their blue book, which is the senior tax freeze, the income levels there were raised last year, they should also check with Margaret, because you have until October the 31st in order to file for the senior rebate program. That's where you pay your taxes to City Hall, and any increase in taxes from the previous year, you'll be reimbursed by the state. Some people that have been on that program for many years receive a substantial amount of money, in the amount of $2,000 or $3,000, because they've been living in their homes so long, and the taxes over the last 10, 15 years have increased that much. The Senior Citizens Committee in Clifton, the Senior Advisory Committee, in conjunction with the Clifton Senior Center and the ARP, will be holding a senior drive program on Saturday, October the 29th, from 9 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon. The cost of the program, if you're a member of the ARP, is $20. If you're not a member of the ARP, the cost is $25. You go to this program, there's a number of videos and different slides that are shown, and you then will receive a certificate which will allow you, through your insurance company, to receive a discount on your car insurance on an annual basis. So seating is limited. Again, call the senior office at 973-470-2234. Through you, acting mayor, to the city manager, do we know when the flu shots will be available?
He's asking when the flu shot will be available.
Okay, I will have to check with the health officer.
Okay, we get the information for the next meeting. In addition, with Halloween coming up, are there any additional guidelines for Halloween distribution of candy this year? We can have that for the next meeting as well.
Sorry, Pete, we didn't understand the question.
Okay, if the guidelines for Halloween distribution of candy. Is there any guidelines in the health department for distribution of candy this year? If we get out of the next Halloween.
You were,
The first of the candy forum will be up next Wednesday evening. October 12th, in the City Hall chamber, they said there was jam, sponsored by the Clifton River Medical Club. The candy are all invited, and the public is invited as well. And then the all will be televised, so you can come to the City Hall and questions be answered from the candidates that are open to the attendance. I want to thank the speakers here tonight. I have the issues that are involved on the road and the sidewalks. This issue has been around for a long, long time. I think almost 20 years that we've been discussing sidewalks on Waterside Road. I have spoken at that time to the sidewalks, and I did not change my mind. Because if one person is the issue or her, and we know the safety situation, the city is liable, we lost you, which was going to cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we were going to go, and we're going to move forward. I hope the city manager will continue to work with the neighborhood in order to settle everyone's years. The issue concerning noise. It's not really, it's other issues. One is enforcement, and one of the big issues is respect, and the big issues that over the neighbors. Sometimes, one of the people work from 9 to 5. They get up early, before the second comes up, they get to your job at 7 o'clock in the morning. They get to your hospital job. They leave their home at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. They get to the bed at 9, 10 o'clock at night. If they get to the morning, even though it's a holiday sometimes, people go to work, We have to go and be respectful. It's a double-edged sword. And I don't want to be enforcement, the police, and you go and be respectful of the police. Now, you know everything. It's challenging. We have to figure out each time. It's not that. It's a legal error. Tomorrow morning, Monday, meeting with the financial department there. I hope that they can discuss with chief, and that they can manage that. We have to be a little bit more having an election. Noise is not there, should not be allowed. It's law. This is there, this is the grass up. When I see vote, I was filing a petition. I always believe in the next election of the matter. It is discussed before. And I feel that if people want to cause the council, we have one person who is mayor who would start in the meetings. However, politics being what it is, we sometimes have people accountable that they know better, and they do whatever we can. So that's what they're asking themselves. Obviously, if we were representing the mayor, we would have a relationship. So I fully agree with your recollection tonight. Where the folks have a petition, I also hope that if we petition them to their signatures, that we will work with the next council, with them to elect or allow a charge committee to do the whole issue, and then we move forward and change the recommendation. Because I don't think anything wrong with the recommendation tonight. And this is, I think, the policy to do. And that's what I recommend.
Is that it, Peter? Okay. Councilman Gibson?
Councilman, before you start, the dates that have been posted start on October 3rd, Wednesday, October 3rd, from 11 to 1. This is at the Health Department on the second floor. So starting October 3rd, Wednesday, continuing through October 30th. October 3rd. October 3rd it starts. Right, so I started today, and then it continued through the end of October. So they have the date wrong. They have the October 3rd correct, but they have it as Wednesday, October 3rd.
Okay?
Yes.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There was a lot of things that came up today, so I'm just going to address in general. I want to start with the sidewalks over on Dwaz Line Road. Through you, Ray, to the city manager, I just want to make this very clear. Are we taking anybody's property?
No.
Only because we've been having that back and forth, and I want to make it clear that we are not taking anybody's property.
All of the work that's being proposed is within the right-of-way of the cities, both cities. There is no property taking.
Okay. Secondly, with Henry, we talked about Allwood Place. I would like to know, through you, Ray, to Mr. Villano, do they get a certificate of occupancy before those sidewalks go in?
The One House 57, they're going to be putting in the sidewalks. So some of them have received a CO, the other ones have not.
Do we give them a period of time that they have to do that?
Yes.
All right. Can you give me that time?
I will have to check with the building department, but they've been put on notice to get them done. Actually, they're beyond the time limit, so we have to get them.
Okay,
over.
so somebody's got to step up to the plate here. Number two, Mr. Latona, don't come tomorrow because it's not tomorrow, it is Wednesday, and it's at 10 o'clock. Also, with reference to the sidewalks, Mr. Villano, am I privy to having a copy of the plans for that?
So if I could get them finalized first, based on the changes that were recommended by the residents, and then I'll provide council as well as the residents with a copy.
So I'm requesting a copy of the plans. I'd like to see them. I'd like to see them myself.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barboza, you talked about the noise ordinance, and you talked about the loud mufflers, and you talked about with these electric bikes and things. Patterson just put something through. We may have to look into it. I think Clifton should also look into what we can do with reference to these loud cycles with the mufflers and et cetera. I've received numerous complaints about it. Matter of fact, I get them daily about these complaints. As a matter of fact, I sent them over to you, Mr. Vellano, so you know, even with the photographs and everything that the people sent to me, I sent to you. So I think that we're gonna have to come up with something with the ordinance to take care of that problem also. Mr. Daly, very interesting. I may be interested in signing that, by the way. So send it over to my home, please. Our recycling meeting, yes, will be Wednesday. I'm interested to see what we come up with. I think that we're actually accurate about a 2-year contract instead of a 5-year contract, but we will discuss it at the meeting to be sure that everything is firmed up. And
Just for the record, I did bring that to council and to Wayne DeFeo about the 2-year proposal that Mr. Latona had requested. But council was more of the opinion that we should go, based on the recommendation from the consultant, that you should go for a minimum of 5 years. I think ultimately agreed a 3 with 2-year options and a 5-year option. But you didn't want to go for the shorter term contract.
We'll discuss it more at the meeting. Mr. Daly. With reference to our noise ordinance, it's going to be actually a state statute that we're going to be using. It's actually pretty impressive, where we can actually, the police department will finally have teeth to be able to take care of those problems once and for all, rather than going back repeatedly. And I think that the important part of it is education. We have to make sure through, I guess, our legal department, through our police department, that this statute is put out to our police officers. So that would be the one that they're going to be able to use, and it'll be up to them to decide whether or not it is a nuisance or not, which I think it'll have more teeth than this old, antiquated decibel ordinance. Mr. Vellano, how are we doing on the crossing guards?
We had another one resign today, so we're down.
This past Saturday, we had the Polish flag raising. It was actually pretty impressive. It was very professionally run, and I have to say it was very good to see Councilman Eagler back, and Peter, it was real happy to see you, and it was just a great job. And last, happy Yom Kippur for our Jewish family. And I think that's all I have. I probably missed a couple things, but I think I got the important parts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Excuse me, may I ask one additional question that I forgot of Mr. Vellano? It is now probably the 4th meeting. The lines on Allwood Road by Trader Joe's are still not paid. Our hard county tax dollars hard at work. We were told, 4 meetings ago, that a work order had been put in? Well, I would like, if you can, reach out to the county
DeNova, Administrator DeNova.
and ask him, how long does a work order take to have executed? But I find this, and I can tell you, I have mentioned it to the county commissioners when I see them at flag raisings, and everyone tells me, oh yes, it's going to be done. Well, it's 4 meetings, at least 4, maybe 5, and that's months that the lines still aren't painted.
Councilman Grabowski?
Somebody is going to get hurt there, and it's going to be the county's fault.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Through you to Councilwoman Sedgwick-Cooler. I think they're done. I went there the other day. I think they're done.
I was just
All right,
there.
well, just
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I
Excuse me,
think that they're
excuse
done.
me, we're just going to move on here,
The
okay?
double yellow lines by Trader Joe's. I went there yesterday, unless my eyes are going crazy, but I think that part of it's done. The other part is not done. But I guess we both could check it to see whether or not.
Thank you, Councilman. Just before we finish, I just want to mention one thing to Mr. Barbosa. You know, we're living in a strange world here. You know, people seem to forget about respect for their neighbors and politeness and kindness. You know, we live in Clifton, and we like to hope, and we're trying to make it's all about quality of life. You know, Clifton's always been a community where we respect everyone, all cultures, all nationalities, and it seems that some people don't have that value in Clifton. And yes, we can work on the laws, and we could try to work on the nuisance, but it's basically all about respect. You know, you live next door to a neighbor, and you respect your neighbor. They should respect you. Someone once told me that it doesn't cost anything to be polite and kind, but basically it boils down to respect. We hate to resort to, we're going to call the police, we're going to give you a ticket and a summons. Why don't we just get down to basic respect for our neighbors and our friends? We all should have to live here together. We want Clifton to stay the community that we know. And you're right, years and years, but now, but people are changing now, and it's wrong. And we have to try to get back to the basics of respect and kindness to each other. And that's really the answer. So, you know, I'd make an appeal to all our residents. Please, this is Clifton. Our quality of life is important. Your neighbors live next to you. Please respect them. Thank you. Petitions and communications, please.
Items discussed in executive session this evening were 1, workers' compensation claim GM, workers' compensation claim MC, IBW contract negotiations, and legal opinion regarding noise ordinances and similar ordinances that attempt to regulate noise. I have 2 late resolutions. R466, resolution authorizing new and used car lot license renewal, Gensinger, and R467, resolution
Excuse me, we're still in session, please. Thank you.
Resolution authorizing renting and leasing vehicles, license renewal, Gensinger.
Can I have a separate roll call? You can lump them together, 439 and 464. Thank you.
Okay, can we have a separate roll call on
Wait a
Council
minute, wait a minute, wait a
Sedgwick-Cooler's?
minute. What?
Sorry, Beth. She's already.
Right. We're taking R44.
Yes,
444 out. That was the one that was tabled in the workshop session.
Right, and
So I
sorry,
need a-
Councilwoman, what were the
I need a motion
exceptions?
to table.
Okay, we need
444.
motion to table those 2 exceptions.
Second.
Okay, now I need a motion on 439 and 464.
Have a motion on those? Second? So moved. Oh, sorry, we need a roll call on that, I'm sorry. it's
Councilman
section.
Eagler? Yes. Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sedgwick-Cooler?
No.
Mayor Rinaldi, absent.
Any
Okay,
other
motion-
exceptions? If not, can we move the group?
Second.
Move the group.
Roll call.
Councilman Eagler? Yes. Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pino? Councilwoman Sedgwick-Cooler?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi, absent. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.